Okay folks, this is Tony Aguilar, and we're going to do a short video on something that I got in the mail recently, and it's something that I have several of these in the past. I've got 7 or 8 of them, maybe even 9, and these are the Skirmish Campaigns series of scenarios, and they are made specifically for small unit actions. And this one's actually been out for a little while, but I've been out of World War II for a long time, and show you the back here is the table of contents. This one is called North Africa 4041, Italian Misadventure and the Arrival of the Deutsches Afrika Korps. So everybody's familiar with that. Some other books that are available in this series, and compatible with this and other rule sets: Arc of Fire, Battleground, Beer and Pretzel, Skirmish, Battlefront, Battalions in Crisis, Guts and Glory, Cross of Iron, The Face of Battle. There it is, the rule set I use, which has been out of print. Overlord, Panzermarsch, Skirmish 90, and many more. And the table of contents is on the back as well. It gives you a couple different campaigns and a series of scenarios that it can tie together. So let's take a look at what we've got here. This is the only one that they have that has the Africa Corps in it. They do have another North Africa one that is, I think it's called Aussies at Bardia. But there's no Africa Corps in there. So I wanted something classic with Africa Corps and the British forces. A little bit of the introduction of the campaign here. Again, the table of contents on the left. And is there a date of publication on here? It's been out for a little while. I ended up getting mine from, you can go to their website, which is called www.skirmishcampaigns.com. I got mine from On Military Matters, who stocks this in the United States. The format basically telling you the troop types, what they refer to each kind. Morale. I couldn't resist to do an unboxing. I got this yesterday and I flipped through it, and one of the reasons I was kind of concerned is I didn't want it to be like focused on the Italians too much. I'm fine with some Italian forces, but as you can see, there's an Italian incursion campaign, then it goes right into Operation Compass, which is a counterattack by the British. The Sunflower Campaign, which is Rommel arrives and goes in there. The Tobruk campaign and Operation Brevity. So let's take a look at what we've got here. A little map of the situation here in North Africa. Again, it breaks down all the ratings of the troop types per the rule set that you happen to use. A little bit of the history of the campaign, source material, and here's one of the first scenarios. Here's the attack on Sollum, and you can see this actually broken down into the map here, and there's squares that are 1 foot by 1 foot squares. So you can see this is only a 3 by 3 setup, and it's a pretty small board, and you could say it's pretty light forces. You've got almost all the scenarios will have a core force, or a base force as they call them, and then you get a die roll to see what you get instead, so there's some variability in it. So in this one in particular, the Italians have 3 rifle squads, and they can have an attachment. And same thing, the core for the Coldstream Guards platoon is 1 rifle squad, so it's 3 squads on 1, so it's really relatively small. Halfaya Pass scenario. Got some elevations there, and here you've got, you know, a handful of Italian tanks, a handful of squads, and a supply truck, and I suspect this is an ambush. A couple of cruiser Mark IIs and a couple of Mark VIs, so some early war British tanks in there. I love the title of this one, Rampaging Matilda. What's not to like? And this is a really interesting scenario because you've got the Italians actually have 3 tanks, And they've got a couple rifle squads at platoon headquarters. All the Brits have is a Matilda 2 and a rifle squad, and it's basically like a sneak attack. So this would be like really good for an intro to whatever rule set you're using, and have the players play the British, because the Italians don't get to mobilize everything immediately. But again, 3x3 board, pretty small. And then we roll into Fox in the Open. And all these tell you like the date. Like this one's February 7th, 1941. And this is a 4x8 board that is pretty empty. You got a hill over here. Now the rules do say you can add some other things for variety, as far as, you know, waddies and things like that, if you want to add them on there. But it's pretty much out in the open. And got some Italian tanks, some tankettes, a couple 2-pounder anti-tank guns, and a couple of Cruiser Mark IIs, which I had to look what the heck they were called, because I don't know them as Cruiser Mark IIs. I would call them A9s or A10s. I forget which ones they are. But Clash of Agadabia. Now the Africa Corps is getting involved here. You've got a scenario here that has a crest line, a ridge in the middle of it, and wash. I don't know, that's maybe a wadi. But this one, for instance, is almost all vehicles. And this one has some really interesting special rules, including that the anti-tank gun, if they get it, they needs to be positioned on the ridge by the end of the game. So that's kind of cool. You have to tow it and get it up there. And 6 British tanks defending. And there's some variable, this one has some variable, not only variable attachments, but variable victory conditions and scenarios that happen. Like, for instance, if you look at this, one of these, if you roll as the Germans have 6 Panzer IIIs and 4 Panzer IIs. And if they roll a 16 or 20, on turn 6, the Panzer IIs must exit the north border of the edge and out of the game. And so this is some flank danger stuff. So it forces you to do things that you probably wouldn't do in a normal game. So that's kind of unique. King's Own is a scenario with a lot of disabled tanks in the middle of it. And then you actually get to roll to see what exactly is at each location. And an extremely tank-heavy scenario. So I'm actually looking to... This might actually be neat to introduce just tanks without... throwing the infantry in there. Benghazi Real Guard. Okay, we got Australians here. 9th Australian Division. Got a platoon headquarters squad. So you got like 5 guys and a 2-pounder anti-tank gun. That's it. You know? And then you got a headquarters squad for the Germans and a motorcycle squad on motorcycle squad. And 2 8-wheel armored cars. So... on a 4x8 board. So that's pretty cool. Rock outcropping. And I'm sure that a lot of this terrain is make-believe. In other words, they just kind of had to throw something together. .209. Here is a ridge. And what does .209 have? It has some infantry, some Panzer IIIs, and Australians, again, only have an infantry squad and a 2-pounder anti-tank gun. Panzers at the wire. You got 6 German tanks against an infantry squad and anti-tank gun. So, looks like if I get into this doing desert stuff, I'll be at least doing an infantry squad of Australians. So, that's kind of cool. Fort Capuzzo, got a stone wall in the middle of the, over in one corner. And just a smorgasbord of different stuff for the Germans. Group Herf. And they're portions of the 5th Panzer Regiment, 5th Light Division, which ends up turning into the 21st Panzer later on, against at least 6 Matildas and 6 cruisers. So a lot of tank-heavy combat here. Bardia Road Airfield. This is Italians with some in place. Looks like they got some captured tanks. Here's a captured tank and placed Cruiser Mark II. against a couple of Matildas. Yeah, the Matildas are going to be a problem. I don't see anything here right off the bat that they'd be able to take them out with. Encounter at Sidi Suleiman. So you have a diagonal road, and this one is some really interesting stuff. Some headquarters section of Group Herf. We even have a 263 armored car. Hey, I've got one of those that I've almost built, almost completed it. Maybe I'll do it for Africa Corps. I don't know. I don't want to get in too deep. And 231, I already have one of those. Pair of three H's. Brazen rules for brazen commanders. 4 Matildas. Man, I love me some Matildas, but they're damn near unstoppable. And that's it. So that's some advertising here for companies that may or may not still be in business. I have a feeling that this is this was printed probably 10 years ago. I was looking for the date on here, but they've been around for a while. Strange it doesn't have the print date on it. Oh, here it is, 2004. So almost 20 years ago. I just didn't have this. I've got about 6 or 7 of them, and I really like them. And they're, even if you don't play them exactly, they're a good starting point for maybe a mixture of different forces. But I figured you guys I've talked about these in the past on my videos, and I figured you guys would want to take a look at them. But Skirmish Campaigns, North Africa, Italian Misadventure, and the arrival of the Africa Corps. So, okay, don't forget to like and subscribe. And the subscription is important. That allows us to other people to see the videos. The more subscribers you have, the more it'll get recommended to other folks, and maybe it'll be something other folks are interested in. But anyhow, until next time, see ya.